Hi guys, it's your two poly chicks, Tiffany
Hello.
and Cindy.
Hi guys.
And today we're going to be discussing mental health. We are actually so far behind the ball in discussing this. We almost missed it, and we're so grateful that Mr. James Holland actually came on to greet us and to discuss this topic with us. So we have James Holland Jr., who's a licensed clinical social worker with more than 20 years of experience working with at-risk youth, and that includes mentoring, counseling, and coaching youth and high school sports. He has more than 16 years of experience working with seniors, disabled persons, and veterans. And over the past 6 years, he's worked with the prison population at Wasco State Prison in California. He's facilitated support groups on anger, diabetes, and sickle cell, and he has a passion to motivate people to achieve their best selves. So in addition to his many roles, and perhaps most importantly, he's the husband and a father, and also the son, brother, uncle, cousin, and friend, and that's the most important thing. So hi, James.
Hi, James.
Hi, how you doing? Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for coming on.
Yes, thank you so much for coming on, because this topic is close to both of our hearts. So we really wanted to discuss it for Mental Health Month, and it's something that needs to have a light shined on it at all times. So I want to just jump right into it and ask, I'm sure you've been asked this question a few times, why did you choose to go into the mental health field? Why did you choose that for your profession?
Well, my mother was actually, when I was really young, working in a psych hospital. But one of the things that really got me was I started working in group homes back in '94. I'm a little older than I look. So I graduated Humboldt State in 1994. So actually go a little bit before that. So about 1992, 93, I was working in group homes on the summers and taking some of the kids to the football games when I played football, ran track at Humboldt State. But one of the homes I was working in, it was for ages 7 to 19, but I had a group of boys that was 7 to 11, about 6 of them. All of them have been through a lot of different things. If you know a little bit about group homes, that's kind of like the last step after you've been placed in multiple foster care homes. And it was a kid in there that we had to watch every night because of how sexual promiscuous he was, and he was only 11. So fast forward about 10 years later, and I graduated again Humboldt State in '94. I didn't go back and get my master's in 2009. So about 10 years later, this 21-year-old man approached my sister on the streets, and he said, "Oh, I know you Carmina, you Jimmy's brother." People know him by Jimmy instead of James. But she's like, "Who are you?" And he explained who he was. And when he said what it was, he told her, "You know what? Tell your brother thank you." And she was like, "What are you talking about?" She's like, "Well, when I was 11 in that group home, I was molested by 6 different foster homes by different men. He was the first man that actually was a positive role model for me and didn't molest me."
Wow.
So fast forward, age 21, he's in college and he's engaged to get married. So that just really, you don't expect that to a little 11-year-old in the streets of Richmond, California, but just to be able to touch one person, and he'll be able to tell his story. Even he got taken out of his biological parents' home because his biological dad also did that. So it's just the different things you could do. And also as a football coach coming out of Humboldt State, I went back to my old high school, and again, some of the kids there growing up in really hard areas. I never forget my freshman team I was coaching. It was the 2 running backs I had and the quarterback called me at like 12 in the morning, and they were in a really bad situation in Richmond, and I went and got them. But I mentored the 3, and all 3 graduated high school. 2 made it to college, and 1 made it into the NFL. But again, you never think that when you mentor it and being there for kids. And a lot of it is mental health. I was looking at some of the statistics, and we got more Black men in prison than we do that's in college. So that does something to the male mental state of mind too, when you don't have a positive male role model to follow.
Wow. That's just, I mean, what I only live in America, so I can only speak about America. But what America has done with Black boys, or that have negatively impacted them in education and in health, it's just, to me, crazy.
Yeah.
What I wanted to know from you was about the current suicide rates, if you know them, by gender, by, race, age group. I know we saw a lot of teen suicide increases, and I know we had like popular stars that you were like, wow, like Kate Spade. I think Anthony
Definitely.
Bourdain was his name, the chef.
Yeah.
Robin Williams, one of the most famous ones. And I know there's an increase among young people. And I wanted to know if you knew the statistics on it, breaking it down by gender, race, and age and stuff.
Well, looking at some of the recent statistics coming out of like a fact with United States in 2020, the 10th leading cause of death is suicide. It's over, and this is really alarming, 132 Americans a day that die by suicide. 1.4 million, as far as the statistics, actually attempt suicide.
I know recently they said there's a few police that have recently committed suicide. Yeah, there's an uptick in police suicides, I think.
I also work, like Tiffany said, at Wasco State Prison, and it's a really big uptake in staff and correctional officers that actually committed suicide. So it is really big, because also too, again, talking about America and quote unquote like a good old boys network, when you've been able to doctor certain paperwork when you do something that's not appropriate, and now that a lot of those things are coming out, families might find out that, oh, my dad was actually this person who I never even seen, and now he got to go back home and present to his family what he was really doing. A lot of times that messes with their mental state too. When you were saying statistics, believe it or not, when we're doing evaluations in the prison, one of the, or two of the risk factors, actually three of the risk factors, main risk factors are if you're white over 65, as far as the highest rates of possible suicide. So it's a white male over the age of 65. With those rates again, it's more men that die by suicide, but it's more women that attempt suicide. And it's been found out that 90% of the people that actually committed suicide had some type of mental disease or mental diagnosis.
Yeah, I mean,
and I was going to say, what happens is they're not diagnosed, or they're not found, and it's not found, or it's not realized or dealt with until too late, until that person actually decides, okay, I'm going to kill myself because this is the last option, or there are no other options. And I want to say, with me, I've had my own mental health story with with depression. I probably was one of the first people in my family to actually be diagnosed with depression. And we always say, oh, well, it's not really a big deal. Just fix yourself up and do X, Y, Z, X, Y, Z.
Oh yeah, you heard, pull up your big girl panties and just
go to church. Yeah, go to church. Go to church.
Or like Cindy said, pray it away, or just get yourself together, get over it. And one of the things that I felt when I was going through that episode, and full disclosure, your sister helped me through a tremendous time in my life, and it touches me, because when you have a village around you, it really helps. I'll say that she helped a lot when it came to just even the listening and the late night calls, and just understanding and not judging. So what I want to do is I want to discuss some of the stigmas. I want you to talk about some of the challenges in removing those stigmas associated with it, where it's not like a crazy thing, where it's like, you know what, you're going through something that's normal. How do we remove those stigmas?
Before you go to that, Tiffany, I just wanted to add, I thought what you were saying was so true about you being the first. My family has a history of it too, but I hope if none of them are watching, because they ain't admitting it, but you could see it, right? But I just found it so funny, not funny, haha funny, but strange that you see like Bourdain and William. How do these people end up killing themselves? I mean, money can't fix it. Like money can't change it. Money can't do it. When you are psychologically unwound,
Yep.
Nothing can do it. And I mean, I'm sure COVID has not helped, people like
No,
me
not
that
at
are
all.
hypochondriacs, that are just germaphobe, to the extreme, and worry, this thing has really highlighted. So anyway, I'm sorry. Some of the biggest, I just wanted to say that part, but some of the biggest challenges and stigmas that you could address.
So I think you guys really right on point as far as that, because the stigma stem from our own personal our own personal families and growing up. I remember when I was small, we had an uncle that came back from the war, and he was just leave him alone. He the crazy uncle that's up there in the upstairs in the bedroom. I mean, it's like you didn't really address it. What was he crazy from? What was the reasons? When you say you need a whole community, a whole army to help you understand what you're going through. Look at the word psychotherapy. If you reverse that, it's therapy for your sight. So if you go out and you pull a muscle or you injure something, they might tell you need physical therapy and you need to work on that daily. With the mental health, it's the same thing. You need to really work on your mental health. You got well-known doctors, well-known lawyers. You got people in high positions that might be bipolar, might be schizophrenic, but that surgeon on his medication is the best surgeon you want working on you on your brain because he's so meticulous and he know what he's doing. But it's shunned upon, it's looked on as far as like, oh, it's not me, it's nothing wrong with me, I'm not crazy. And it has nothing to do with you being crazy. A lot of things cause anxiety, a lot of things cause depression. A lot of things give us grief, something that we might lose, whether it's a loved one or somebody who's really close to, any type of ability just to function, so to speak. So if somebody was really good at a job they did, and then all of a sudden had an accident and can't go back to that job, or you're in pro sports and you've been given everything, and all of a sudden you get this injury, and now you're just left by yourself. It really messes with your mind, and then you just left for naught. The actors, when you said Robin Williams, he was out there making everybody else happy. That was his job. That's what he did, but nobody knew the demons that he was going through, and he was actually suffering from daily. So it's because of the stigmas and how people look down upon it. You left by yourself. It was a right as far as like people it's a big push now. It's transgender, minorities, period. That's really going through so many extra things because they're trying to be themselves. And even with education, if you don't educate enough or let a certain race get as educated as the privileged race, there's no way that they could learn and get to that same level. California, it's a friend of mine who graduated from Humboldt State with me. He's making a big push to bring football back to the Division II schools in California. They took them away for 10 years. And those schools, it was at least 300 African-American males a year at those schools. So for 10 years, you took away that option for 300 people a year to get a degree and get into mainstream society. That also does something to your mental. You can't go back and help your community. All of us from that year is in a position where we're doing so much better because we had the chance. Yeah, it was football and our grades too, but we had the chance to come back and do some things in our community because of that opportunity to go to college.
Yeah, and see, and I was gonna say what you said about having a circle around you and how different things are affecting your mental health. It doesn't have to be that you're born with a psychological disorder. You're born with something. In my case, it was a move. It was separation from my family and separation from my friends that actually was the catalyst to the depression. So it can be something as small, like you said, it's losing a job or not being able to play your sport that you love. So it's not something where it's like, oh, something's completely like First of all, mental health is nothing wrong with having a mental health issue as long as you're getting the help you need. But it can be something as small as being away from your family and friends, like we said with COVID. So it's oh man, the stigma.
It's like, so when you say the stigma, it's when somebody think of mental health, they thinking of somebody that's hearing things or seeing things, not just depressed from not having the same opportunities you had.
That really touched me, what you said about psycho and therapy, because the word psycho, we see it in movies, right? Movie titles with that name. And so psycho mean crazy, somebody with a knife, you know. I just think that's so interesting. And Tiffany, I didn't know, I knew that you went through things, but I didn't know you had a medical diagnosis, because I know we use the word depression a lot. And I think technically you have to be diagnosed with it to really be in depression. But you know, I mean, I was thinking about Tyrese, the model singer, and they made so much fun of him when he was making those videos crying. And even now with Kanye, they made so much fun of them because they don't have anywhere to go. They make videos. These people that have mental illness sometimes get on videos. And instead of us seeing it as a cry for help, we make a meme about it and joke about it. I look at him crying, especially if it's a Black man. You know, he's crying, look at him. What I wanted to know was about self-check and the individual responsibility that we have. Like Tiffany, one thing I admired about Tiffany, you went and you actively went and did something about it.
Okay.
Like, I have never done that, even though I be feeling stuff and I'd be like, I should talk to someone, but yeah. And I did, and I didn't feel like I don't know, when she started digging too deep in my life, I kind of pulled away and ran, but I regret that. I got, so that's how we talk. Go talk to your pastor, go talk to whoever. So I wanted to know what you thought about self check-ins and individual responsibility in terms of knowing your manias, knowing your, your triggers.
So with self-check, again, some people don't realize that we control how we respond to every situation. It's a practice I like to use called mindfulness. It's a DBT, dialectical behavior therapy. With the mindfulness, it's also another breakdown inside of that called using your wise mind. But to get that, it's two areas that kind of define the wise mind too. So a lot of people respond in just their emotional state of mind, where in a situation, you react just by emotions. No matter what somebody do, it's just emotions, and you can't respond, and you might even think later, but you just reacted so fast in your emotions that was the outcome. Some people could respond in a rational state of mind where they look at just the facts in situations. If I was standing by a door and I had my hand on the knob, you just assume, okay, the door was only open because I was the one that turned it. It couldn't have been no other possibilities that the wind blew it open. It was already cracked. You're just looking at a rational state of facts. So, but when you're able to put the two together, you got the rational state of mind and the emotional state of mind, you're able to come out in situations where it's always a positive for you using your wise mind. So with that self-check, you know when you're not feeling right. You know when you kind of off a little bit. You've been taught sometimes taught right from wrong, but you also see different situations too where, okay, you know, I just don't feel like me. That's when you look at yourself. So if you got a cough or you got a cold, you might go get some medication. You might go to the doctor. You know what? This arm is not feeling the same way. Same thing with your mind. If every week, for example, if you was in school and you had a test and you were getting an A, all of a sudden 1 week you got an F on the test. It could be more than just you didn't get the information. You got to look at yourself as well and say, oh, you know what? What am I going through that week? What happened to me that day? It's been times when you woke up in the morning and said, you know what, it's going to be a great day, and it was. But just the opposite. There's been days when you woke up in the morning, oh, I just don't feel good. It's gonna be bad. And it just seemed like every day went bad. That's when you could do that self-check and say, okay, what's really going on with myself? But unless we do it, a lot of times nobody else is, unless you got a good friend that's there and say, you know, you just don't seem the same. You're not smiling the same. That's when somebody else can help. But we do know ourselves better than anybody else. We're the doctor of our body.
Wow, that's so interesting. I like that. I like what you said about how you react, we can control how we react to situations. And that's the main thing. And one of the quotes that we actually put up on our Facebook page was, don't let yesterday take up too much of today. So if you're thinking about yesterday, all the things that's happened already, instead of dealing with moving forward, then you're stuck in the past. And I can't I don't want to keep going back to my story, but one of the things that, one of the questions that we had is about COVID. And like I said, when I moved to Florida away from my friends and family, I separated my son away from his father and the people that he loved. It caused a lot of issues with me, and it caused me to be depressed. And being away from friends and family over this last year, a lot of people are experiencing that same feeling of I'm alone, I'm by myself, I don't have anyone that I can reach out to, even though they're there by telephone or they're there by Skype. It's not the same as being able to hug someone. It's not the same as being in front of someone. So do you think COVID will have long-term mental health effects on people? What do you, and if so, what do you think they are?
Oh, most definitely. For example, you got a child that was getting straight A's, and all of a sudden, and this is almost the norm, they started getting F's because they were sitting there and they were on Zoom or Skype and doing their homework. Now it's different than being in the classroom and having that teacher there to be able to, you know what, little Johnny doesn't learn the same way as the rest of the class. But now you making them just do a blanket type learning system. And if they don't get it, you fail them. Everybody is different. And with COVID, you went from people being just socially interacting. A lot of people don't realize, not to take away from the seriousness of COVID, but COVID-19 means it came out in 2019. In 2019, we were still programming pretty well. People were still going out doing a lot of things. We learned how to adapt. But then all of a sudden, everybody got shut down in 2020. But with the social interaction is you have to learn that, especially being a child growing up, to be able to interact with people and deal with others. So you put now somebody who unfortunately might have been getting abused when they came home from school, and now was getting abused every single day. That's a long effect on them. Now trying to regroup, if you lost your business, if you lost family members, because between that time, some people don't forget the elections was there. You lost friends just because they had an opinion of they wanted to be right wing or left wing. And so now you have to regroup. And you weren't even seeing these people daily. You just lost people as Facebook friends that just hate you, though. I mean, the hate that just came out. And sometimes that was in between individual races, the same colors, doing the same thing to each other. And you have to regroup now that you able to start seeing people in person. It's like, oh, I wasn't even invited to Christmas now with family because of some differences that I had. And it's just, it's going to be a long, and we don't even know any type of long lasting effects from the vaccine. I won't go there, but anyway.
Oh boy.
But COVID, but or even any long lasting effects from having COVID too itself. So it's a lot of things we have to see in the future, how that's going to really respond or react to our mental state of mind. Is really going to be important to have that support system.
Wow, it's really interesting that you mentioned the the stuff with the election stuff, because during the COVID time, you had to be inside, so all you did was watch TV, watch all these news things, become like in this bubble. I mean, me and Tiffany would be furiously messaging each other, couldn't sleep, couldn't do this. It became highlighted in the time of COVID because you couldn't go anywhere. You had to watch it. Kind of like forced itself into our life. The other thing I was thinking about when you were saying that is, for my son, it had the opposite effect because he's introverted already. So being home and on the computer, he's loving it. But I think it's made him more introverted. His school was the only time he did hang out with people. The only time he had his few little 2 or 3 friends that he liked. And now he's home, and I'm just trying to find myself having to go, you got to go out. You got to get out. You got to get out. So some people were exploding to get out, and other people were like, oh, thank God, I don't have a reason to go out anymore. So I think it's, and me, like I said, it highlighted what was already there, which was my germophobia. You couldn't, for years now, you can't come in my house, sit on my bed or sit in anywhere. You got to watch, and now it's like, see, I told y'all. So now I'm nuts. I was going with 20 wipes in my house already. So now I got 40 wipes. So it just highlighted, right? It just highlights who you are. It just
Yeah,
helps.
it does.
And you know, one thing I was say something with the social media a little bit. I know that's kind of off, but it was the comedian Kevin Hart. He had came out and said that all of a sudden with this social media, when people see comments under a picture, they've been taking it as true fact life situations. They believe it as being God's word for some reason. So
Automatically.
being locked down and on COVID, a lot of times whatever we saw on media
Yep.
or just over Zoom was told, we took as it being the truth.
Yeah, we're in a bubble. We're really in a
Definitely.
bubble now. What I wanted to know from you was during the year of COVID, you know, the
Okay.
George Floyd thing happened, and then now the new push again was defund or revamp the police to use some of that money toward education, mental health and stuff. So I wanted to know what you thought about the initiatives now, or maybe even what you know about the initiatives that they're using now to address mental health before, because we know that the police come in, they've been known to kill a person that was, the family called just to say this person is having a crisis, blah, blah, blah. They come, guns are blazing, and now the person is killed. So what your thoughts were on the issues and the initiatives to intervene before the police come?
See, and also that's been started even before recently. Just even looking more into it, like with the different populations under, of course, the Affordable Care Act, Paul Wellstone and Pete Demency, Mental Health Parity and Addiction Equality Act of 2008. Back then, a lot was trying to transform systems of care to avert criminal justice involvement, to avert getting put in the hospital or put in the prison because of mental state, because prisons pretty much was the mental facility. But with the initiatives now, they're even going into jobs right now. Jobs are being more open to giving you time off for mental health. We really need to take advantage of it. It needs to be more, I guess, more things in place though, that's really focused on the mental health. Because you got some places, like some people call them halfway houses or transitional living facilities, substance abuse rehab places that's trying to help people based off of the different acts that's out there. And some of those people, unfortunately, are just taking the money of the act that's there instead of really helping the person.
Yeah.
So if it's really truly a facility or an initiative that's helping out and really done, kind of like what you guys are doing, being more, bringing out more awareness of what's going on, the truth of those places and really getting the right people in them to help the individual is what's really gonna make a difference. So the initiatives are good. It's a lot that's out there that's really needed, but we really got to see how those initiatives are being put in place and actually working for the individual.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, we definitely need more awareness, more initiatives, and I mean, I see it all over with the NFL, with the NBA. They're highlighting mental health now, and not just during Mental Health Month. They're highlighting it more and more. The need for it, the need for the intervention, and like Cindy was saying, before it gets to the point of someone calling the police, we have the help that we need. We can call our counselor. We can call I forgot what they were called. Like if you're in an NA or AA program, your sponsor, and get someone to help you before it becomes a police issue. And I think that's quite important. It really
And
is.
I think it needs to be a bigger initiative for that police reform too, because a lot of police, when they see a certain color, they automatically don't look at possible mental health. They look at that color as a threat.
Yeah.
So they're not even giving that person a chance. For example, I got a friend who's they're a different race. So let me see if I could explain this correctly. But her brother was pulled over by the police for like the 5th or 6th time of a DUI, in and out of jail, gets out of the car drunk and on a suspended license, comes out of the car, put his gun in the air and say, you know what, I'm not going back to jail.
Wow.
The only thing happened to that guy was they called his sister and told his sister, "We got your brother again."
They took him to McDonald's for some food.
Yeah, it's amazing. You know
And
what?
then you got a lady that was stopped in Los Angeles that was maybe 120 wet, and the officer went ahead and slammed her on the ground and everything. When she asked why you did that, he told her, "Oh, because you people are known to be violent."
Wow. Wow.
So it really need that, and the initiative need to go into the reform in the police department so we don't end up getting killed and shot when all we have is a mental issue or a mental problem.
Yes, yes. And you know what? You could have told those two stories and I probably would have guessed which was this from the explanation of what you gave. It's kind of crazy. I hate to use that word crazy while we're talking about mental health, but it's kind of weird that I can understand or visualize who's who, and it's just we need the mental health.
And some people don't believe that though. Some people would think that's just a story that was made up, that don't happen in the United States.
Okay. I don't know if they believe. They people still are. I think they're in woeful ignorance and by denial by choice, because that's privilege. That's what privilege really is. When you're not aware of others, it's privilege, right? When you're not aware of some need or poverty, you just want to live in privilege. You're in denial. But now with the COVID happening over this year and us being home, people were able to watch more on the news. I have a lot of Caucasian friends, and that's what I was watching this, and I was watching that, and I was just surprised, and I'm going, where were you all these years? I mean, Eleanor Bumpers back in the 80s or whatever, that old black woman, I think the Bronx or Harlem or somewhere, they killed her, mentally ill, mental illness. Just the autistic boy, they just shot him. Not that autism is a mental illness, but just police not being able to recognize when something's wrong, when something like that. Now there was this older white woman about, I don't know, a few weeks ago. She was maybe she was 80. She had dementia. She went in Walmart. I think she didn't pay. And Walmart called the police. The police followed her. She was walking along the road. She just kept saying the same thing. I just want to go home. I just want to go home. That wasn't a signal to them that something was wrong with her. They threw her on the ground, broke her arm, used her up. And now they probably progressed an illness in her that she already had. And then they would take laughing about it. So I think the mental illness probably should start with them. Like they need mental health. They need mental help, because you have to be mentally ill to do that to a woman that's the size of a child. She was like 80 pounds. See,
and that's what you taught to be that way. That's the training in the system, unfortunately, is to use that type of use of force and then write it up and say you didn't.
Yeah. And another part of the mental health with those in law enforcement, they're actually not encouraged to go and seek mental health evaluation.
Yeah, you're not brave. You're not bravado. Yeah.
Well, no, it's actually seen as a as
weakness,
as like a disqualifying factor if you're
because you can't use a gun. Right.
So I mean, I have a friend that's in law enforcement, and she's been talking about going to therapy for the longest, but she's like, I can't go right now because and it's not anything like severely wrong. It's just she cannot go to have the talk therapy that we like, because there's a stigma or there's a disqualifying factor.
Right, because when my friend wanted to, you can't. My friend wanted to get a gun license, and the police department called me and was like, "What's this person's mental state? You can't get the gun license if they find out something is quote unquote wrong with you." So even if you're trying to get
if you got some type of mental diagnosis with psychosis or schizophrenia or even a suicide attempt or been in a mental hospital, you get it taken away for 5 years to own a weapon, and depending on the serious of it, you can't own a weapon for the rest of your life.
Wow. But just imagine, so they going around undiagnosed and policing us. I do believe mental health should be a part of their training. And it should be, if you do it across the board, then nobody's stigmatized, right? Like if I make it mandatory for everybody, then it's okay for everybody. But if I just make it mandatory for those that need it, then I'm singling them out. I just think it should be for just everybody, it makes sense.
But see, also is one thing as well, and to kind of back up a little bit about what they're going through. So for example, if every single day I worked back-to-back shifts. I worked 12 hours, 16 hours in, say, the worst streets of LA or the worst streets in the Bay Area, Richmond or Oakland, just every single day, 5 years, 10 years, it's going to do something to my mentality. It's going to do something to my thought process. And if it's just with one race, then all of a sudden I'm going to think in my head too, everybody from that race is the same way that I've dealt with for 8-hour shift, 12-hour shift, 16-hour shift. Sometimes when I was tired, I had to do a 24-hour shift. So I believe after a certain amount of time, it should be able to retire a lot sooner than the rest of us in other professions.
Right.
Because
and they should move you around. They should rotate you. And they should put more people that represent you. You would police your community differently.
Yeah.
If I walk and see a sister walking around with a short this and this, I'd be like, oh girl, you know, whatever. But you know, if I'm from wherever out on the island, I might be like, yeah.
Wow. So, and I mean, I know we discussed a lot of the mental health and specifically within the Black community. I just want to say there's nothing wrong with praying, nothing wrong with going to your pastor, because we talked about that a little earlier. There's nothing wrong with that, but also seeking, I think the key is seeking the right professional help, because you can talk to your pastor, but he may not be licensed or equipped to handle your specific issues. And there's nothing wrong with going and seeking mental health therapy. And I think in our community specifically, we don't usually get the diagnosis and we don't usually seek the help. And that's part of the problem, because we are told, oh, shake it off, or go sit down, or, you know, just like Jimmy said, put on your big girl panties, or talk to the pastor and let's pray for you. And there's nothing wrong with those things happening, but at the same time, we need that other mental health component of it. I know you have one last question, Cindy, on the mental health.
Yeah, mental health, like what you saying about look, my tooth hurt on a Sunday. I would pray. I would ask my pastor to pray for me, but I'm still gonna sure going to the dentist.
Yeah.
Stop me from going, because can you pray for this? But I'm still going to the dentist. But I want to know what you maybe, do you have any suggestions for taking care of yourself mentally, and also for you, how do you combat, because if you're in the mental health profession all the time, what do you do for yourself mentally, emotionally, to take care of yourself, but also maybe some things that people can do to address?
So that's where you gotta have what I call me time. Whatever your me time is. Some people like to go, this could be male or female, because I do it myself, get a manicure and a pedicure, that's me time.
A mani-pedi.
That's right. To regroup for me, even after every session, if I come across one that was really difficult and really emotional too, because I'm human as well. I'm not gonna just sit there and be with a blank face at times too. I'm actually gonna really relate. That's one thing I'm strong at, is relating, and no matter who's sitting in front of me, whether it's somebody that's over the age of 60 or some child that's 8, 9, 7 years old, I'm able to relate at their level. But at the same time, I'm taking in some of the stuff that they're going through. So I need to also debrief myself, regroup. I got colleagues I can call, and you know what? I can discuss a situation, or I can say how I feel. Family time for me is big. I love to spend time with my wife and kids. Got to get my mind back to being on a straight and narrow basis. If it wasn't for some football coaches, some teachers throughout my life, some women in my family, I wouldn't be where I'm at right now. So you really need to lock in on that support that you have when you talk about like mental health necessities, because any given time that anxiety could hit, the depression could hit, no matter what you're doing, and to have somebody there as a necessity, so to speak, to help you get through it. And we all know individually what that is for ourselves. I have people write down a list of who their supports are. I have people write down everything that they've been through, whether to them it was negative or positive. Because once they put that list down, we tend to forget all of the things that we've been through and that we've made it through. That also helps us with your mental state of mind. Like, oh yeah, you're right, I did make it here, I did make it there, I did make it. It's not just the negative or the problem that you're going through exactly at that moment. Because a lot of times when we think about that, it just start to snowball. Everything else is going bad, and nothing that was ever good. And especially if you've been told that all your life. But you really need to have that support there as that necessity and that me time. So some people like to play basketball, some people like to swim, some people like to run track, some people like to lift weights, some people like to do a garden, some people just like to go look at the ocean, put on a calming act. I run 2 lifer groups at Washington State Prison, and
wow.
we at the end of each group, we at the point where we doing meditation. I got 20 to 25 lifers in each group, and we sitting and doing for about 15 minutes to 20 minutes. We sitting doing some relaxation, breathing exercises, and imagery. Imagery anybody could do. So that's just thinking about a safe place when you were younger or a place you like to go. I had one guy say his safe place was at the bottom of a swimming pool. People were looking around, what are you talking about? But if you think about it, yes, as long as you can hold your breath, but it's quiet, you can't hear nothing. That's where he was really felt safe. But your safe, your happiness, where that is.
Wow.
And it'll take a second for you to sit down and imagine being there, like all the 5 senses, what you were smelling, what you were seeing, what you were tasting. And has it ever been a time either one of you were watching TV, somebody called your name and you didn't respond? You were so focused into that television show.
Yeah.
So when you relax and doing imagery, you really take the state of mind to a different level, and it reduces that anxiety or that stress you're going through.
Wow.
I like that. So whatever it is, which is your me time, that's what you do to hone in on your mental health, on your, even when you start feeling that feeling of, okay, there's something going on. Whenever you start feeling that feeling, go to your happy place, go to your mani-pedi, go to the beach, go to garden, go to cook, whatever it is, go play sports, whatever it is that you have as a necessity for your mental health, you do that. And I have the last question, which I usually ask all of our so one of the things I do want to say, what was on your Psychology Today profile, it says we try to eat healthy, exercise, and get our bodies in the best shape possible, and sometimes forget about our mental health. Now is the time to incorporate your mental health, mental wellness, and strength into your everyday routine. So when you're exercising and getting your body right, let's also consider getting your mind right and strengthening that part of your body as well. But the last question I have is the magic wand question, which we ask everyone. If you had
I gotta go get mine.
If you had a magic wand and you can do anything in the world with it, you can change anything, have anything, go anywhere, replace anything, what would you do with the magic wand that you have? What would you do with it?
Okay. I'm gonna keep it on the same theme as far as with the mental health. For me, what I would do with it is make mental health at the same level, so to speak, that everything else is. For it to be accepted, for people to understand it, for people to be okay with their loved ones getting help or even their self getting help. I'd change that stigma of mental health. And that would actually help everybody across the world, not just one individual.
Wow. You get the wand. You get the wand.
There you go.
So important.
Thank you.
So important. So important.
It
really is. And James, I keep Jimmy.
You keep calling him Jimmy. Jimmy.
You can say Jimmy. We family. We family.
Thanks so much for being on with us, and at such a short notice. We really appreciate you coming on and discussing this important topic. And guys, like I said, like James said on his site, exercise and mental health go hand in hand. So get your mind and your body right. And thanks for being on with us.
Thank you.
If I can say one more thing too, just one extra thing for people. When we dress right and look right, we feel better. It's also too knowing ourselves, like, it was a question when we were talking about the fedoras before we got on. One reason I started wearing it because my hair don't grow no more now. That's just my mental state too. So that keep me mentally, keep it on. We there that way or off. So
wow. That's funny.
That way nobody can see this line that went way back here.
Look, I'm ready to take care of this on my head. I'm ready to do something with my head. COVID done got the beauty parlors all jacked up.
Oh,
That's right.
That's
well,
funny.
James, you got the last word then. Thanks so much for being with us.
You ladies have a wonderful, blessed day.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.